Hi everyone, you're welcome to another video tutorial. So in this video, we are going to complete an exercise that consists of everything we have learned previously. So let's quickly do that. So firstly, we are going to create this little house icon here that I'm seeing. Let me make this 100. I want them to be 100. So let me just make it 100. Or let me just increase it to like, so you use this width and height to actually edit. So this, I locked the aspect ratio. You can edit it individually, but that's not what we want. We want something that is kind of like the ratios are locked together. So let me change this to 160 so that it will be very big. All right. So you can use any number you want. And then, we're going to bring in a rectangle. So let's use a rectangle. So I'm going to draw a rectangle. And I'm going to do this and push this to the top a bit. And then lastly, we're also going to bring in another rectangle. And we're going to hold shift and select this one also and center them properly. And then select this and push this to the top a bit. And then first thing, so how are we going to achieve this now? So the first thing we're going to do is to select this square here. This should be a square. Let's change this to a square. So let's lock the aspect ratio. So let's change this to a square. And then select this one. And then we're going to use the boolean operations. So we are going to use union to merge this together. And the next one is the door. We are trying to replicate the door. So for the door, we are going to hold shift and select this one also. And then use the subtract boolean operation. All right, so that's that for that. So we have been able to successfully achieve this one. So that's basically how easy it is to achieve this one. So this is going to teach us how to actually effectively use the boolean to probably manipulate shapes also. So the next thing we are going to build now is this particular card. So we are going to try and create this gradient. So it's advisable that for your submissions, you should have like different colors. Don't actually use the exact color that I'm using here. Just be creative with the way you're using your colors and everything. And the images to just be creative with the way you use your images. So now we are going to create a frame first. You know, we talked about frame. We learned about frame also. Let's see. So we want it to be 300. So let's name this UI card. Let's rename it to UI card. So now the first thing we are going to do is to apply the gradient that we are seeing here. So to apply that gradient that we are seeing here, we will just click on Fill and then go over to Gradient. So this is the gradient 2 here. And also here, you can add pattern, you can add image, you can add videos. But I think for this video, we just covered the whole solid fill, the gradient fill, and the pattern. You can explore the pattern on your own. It's not difficult. It's just the same as what we already have. So the next thing we are going to do now to add this, I think at the top there, I had like something like an orange color. Let's see how that plays out. All right, so let's just take it to the top. And then for the bottom, let's see if like a yellow color will work for that. All right, it looks like a yellow color. Or let's just try playing with a different color entirely. Let's see how that works. Okay, I think I kind of like this color. Wow, I think I like this color. And let's try to play with the orange. Let's see if we can get like a better shade that will work. You know what? Let's just move this a bit so that we can actually see this properly. So we don't have to entirely use the same color, but if you can use the same color, try to do that too. But it's advisable you actually experiment with different colors also to actually properly gain from this course. All right, I'll just use this particular gradient. I think I like this gradient. I don't want to follow what I did before exactly. So the next thing we're going to create is this particular card now. So with the way it is, I don't think it's a square because you see they have like different widths. We have like a width of 150 and a height of 140. But still, you can actually create whatever sizing you will like. So let's quickly try to do this first. Let's create this. So let's call this card. Let's call it a product card. Oh, I didn't spell that correctly. Product card. So let's call it a product card, and let's give it a corner radius of like 12. So now that we've given it a corner radius of 12, the next thing we are going to do is like let me change this to 160. I don't like the other number on top. So probably we can just edit the height later on. But for now, let's just leave it at 160. So the next thing we are going to do now is to bring in a rectangle. To create this, let me make sure it's a frame I created. To create the product card, we use the frame. Don't forget a frame so that we can host other elements inside of it. So now that I've created a rectangle, you see the rectangle is now inside of this product card, which is what we want. So the next thing I'm just going to do is to zoom in and make sure that I have like, I have same padding across this rectangle. So I'm just going to try and use like the padding of 8. So this is like a padding of 8. No, padding of 4. Yeah, padding of 4. Let's use padding of 4. And let me push this to the end and try to get like a padding of 4 as well. And then try to drag it and see if I can get a padding of 4. Okay, wow. I was able to do that in one go. And so the next thing we're going to do, we're going to add corner radius to this also. So the corner radius we're going to add is like 8. So we're going to add the corner radius of 8. So this is how it looks now. Wow. So our card is getting ready and our card is looking more like what we have here. So the next thing we're going to do is now, we're going to add our text. So the text I'm going to use here, I'm going to say this is a header. Oh, I know the text is big, but let's forget about that. Let's just focus on what we want to do. So for this, let's use the header. The header should have like probably like a text of, remember when we talked about like editing the sizes? So this is where you edit the sizes under the typography. Don't forget that always. Don't ever forget that. So I think this let's use 16 and see how it looks. Okay, 16 doesn't look bad because it's kind of like a header, but let's do 14 so it doesn't actually get out of the whole card or actually consume the whole space. So now since this is a header, let's just change it to semi-bold. Oh, let me leave it at extra bold. I think semi-bold works fine. So let's leave it at semi-bold. So now the next thing we're going to do is just to try to, so you might be wondering how I'm able to see the sizing around the shape. So I'm currently holding Alt on my Windows PC, or you can actually use the Option key on your Mac if you're currently using a Mac. So you just hold your Option key or you hold the Alt key to be able to see these visible areas. So you just hover on whatever object you want to actually see the properties, the distance, and just when you hover on it, it will definitely show the distance. So the next thing we want is the distance from here to here. I just want to have like another 4 distance from here, and here we can have like a distance of 12. So to move this in tens, because you see this is 12, and when I move it, it's now 22. So I'm holding Alt and Shift to make it possible. But if you just want to move objects in tens, just hold Shift and your arrow key and the direction in which you want to move it. So if you see this is 12, and if I push it, this is 22. If I push it, this is 32. So hold Shift to be able to move object in tens. But if you just want to move it one after the other, you see, once I click my direction or arrow key once, it just moves it, which is not what we want. So I want to move it in tens, and this is what we have. So the next thing we are going to do is to come over here also and change this one. The text size should be like 12, and we go over and make it like regular. So we want it to be regular, but they look kind of like a bit close, and I don't want to go below 12 because let's just leave this at 16 then. All right, so we leave this at 16, and we try to hold this and make this 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So I think that's that for that. So what we are just going to do is that let's try to group this together. So I'm just going to do Ctrl G, use the shortcut for grouping elements. So now this is inside a group. So let me name this header underscore and text or subtext. So don't forget, this is not header. This is, what did I even write in the other one? Okay, this is a subtext. This is we don't have to have the A in caps. Okay, I think it's in title case. Okay, we'll quickly indeed that this is a subtext. Ooh, subtext. Let me confirm that this is in title case. Okay, yeah, it's in title case. That's why I couldn't get like a lowercase for that. So let's just change it to, let's remove all types so we can edit it and adjust this whatever way we want. This is a subtext. All right, so we have that. So I want to also reduce this to small letter a. Oh, I think this too is in this title case. Yeah, so we don't want title case. We're going to also remove this from title case, and we are going to change this. Oh, I think it has actually worked. So now that we have this, we have our product card now. We can now push it inside of this. Now, the blue highlights indicate that this is inside of this frame now. Now we can now center it properly, and I'm going to push it. So now what I'm going to do is, there are two ways to add image to this. You can either follow this procedure that we used before, or let me use something entirely different because we used like a different procedure on the video when we were talking about images. So I'm just going to try another method, show you another method now that you can use. So you can just select here and then go to images and upload from your computer. This is what we are going to use. So now let's try this. Let's see how this looks. Wow, this card looks beautiful. And I like the fact that it complements the color. And let's try another one. Let's try another one before we conclude. Let's try one more. Let's try one more. So you can still use the same way to actually make this possible. I think the picture works. I think I like the picture. Let's just leave it. I think I like the picture. Picture is okay as it looks. So now that we are done with that, then we are done with this particular aspect of it. So the next thing that we are going to do now is to work on this particular logo. This is the formal Twitter logo. So this is the formal Twitter logo. So what we are going to do is to trace this out. We want to make sure that we recreate this using the pen tool. So we are going to use the pen tool to recreate this. So first of all, let's check the size for this. And first of all, recreate the size. So this is like 300, which is already what we have here. So I'm just going to duplicate this by holding Alt and dragging this. So now I'm going to delete this because we're not going to need it for this. So we are going to call this former X logo. So, X was formerly called Twitter. So now we're just going to go to this view, go back to this view and change it to solid. So when we come back to solid, we'll now use this to pick the color. And now we have it. So the next thing that we are now going to do is to, let's draw out this, let's bring this out. Okay, yeah. So let's drag this out. And now, just like the way we were able to trace that other image when we were talking about the pen, so that's the same way we are going to do. First things first is to reduce the opacity to 12. So I've reduced the opacity to 12, and now I'm going to lock the image so that I won't be able to adjust the image. So now that we've done that, the next thing we are going to do now is to try to use the pen tool to trace this out. So I'm going to start from here. So I'm just going to do this, do this, and do this, and do this, and do this. So this is just what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to edit every other thing later on. So later on, I'm just going to use so now that we've gotten this, so we'll now change this to blend. Let's start with this first, or let's start from this first. So let's select this. So now that we now have the tool, let's use Alt to actually change this to make this work. Let's go from right to left. So let's also add, I think it has removed. Let's click enter to enter the vector edit mode. Oh, I think it's not working. So I'll just have to select the blend tool. All right, so I don't think we need to add any much work here. So we're also going to select this and add the blend tool to this. This one, I don't think we need much work here also. And this, we're going to slightly curve it also. So here, that's it. So we're also going to add the blend tool here and just do this. So we are going to, so let me hit Control there. Then I'm going to use this to then use hold Alt on my keyboard to turn off the mirror effect, the mirror angle effect. So, and the next thing we are going to add the blend to here, and we're going to hold the Alt key in order to turn off the mirror effect, and same here also. So I'm still going to do this, hold Alt to turn off the mirror effect, and also here to turn off the mirror effect, and also here add our blend, and then turn off the mirror effect and drag by holding Alt. So another thing we're also going to add here also, and lastly we are going to add here. So now let me see how that looks. Okay, this doesn't look bad. So what we are just going to do, we are just going to drag this our vector that we created and then center it properly and make sure it's inside of the frame. And then we're going to remove the fill color, or we can just as well hit the enter key and then use our paint bucket to just add color to it. And that's it. And now we'll click enter to remove from the vector edit mode. So, but now we'll have to remove the strokes. We have to remove the strokes and change this to white. So now this is our icon. So for this image, let's quickly unlock it and delete it because we no longer need it. So, and that's that for the exercise, and see you in the next video. Thank you.